too much. All right.
So,
Take 2.
Hey, well, here we are.
Again.
My name's Glenn. This is my wife, Jessica. We have 3 boys. We've been married for, 14 years now?
I don't know how many.
14 years, I'm going with that. So we've got 3 boys, 6, 9, and 12.
And they're good little farm hands.
They are. They help in the garden and everything. Got Easton, Wyatt, and Hunter, our oldest. We are Gathered Together Homestead. So we moved down here in May last year now. It's 2022. So we moved down here in May last year.
We looked at the house in February. And so from February to May, we had the most out of character Missouri winter. It was miserable cold. So we had a lot of time to sit and just veg out. And Glenn scoured YouTube, fell in love with 2 different Homestead YouTube channels, and we began planning.
Yeah, we were in the process of building another home at the time, and got all the way to the point to just about framing it. Yep. And we had 10 acres in Missouri, in Peculiar, Missouri, where we had lived, and was getting ready to build that house, and just felt like the Lord put it on our hearts really heavy to sell that place and move back to where I grew up, back in my hometown where I went to school. So we actually sold that house, that land, to a couple who actually went to school in Adrian, lived in Raymore at the time, ended up buying our house. The day they looked at it, wrote a contract on it, and within a couple hours had called us because we hadn't found anything in Adrian.
No, there was nothing. The housing market is so crazy. There was nothing
for sale. We had looked at a house and kind of kicked ourselves because we picked it apart. But anyway, they mentioned to us that they talked to a guy and it came up in conversation that he was going to be selling his house in the spring. Yes. It wasn't even on the market. So it was all definitely a God thing when it all came together, and it worked out perfect. But we sold that place, bought this place, kind of on a handshake in February, and then moved in May, the end of May.
The end of May, yeah.
But in the midst of all of that, we were able to, the guy that lived here let us come down and do things and kind of start to change things, even though we didn't own the home. He let us put our garden in and let us tear out some old fence and put up some pipe fence and stuff for our horses.
Right, we did. I forgot about that.
And we did all these things knowing that there was a possibility that we wouldn't even get the house. There was always a chance that it may fall apart.
Through. Yeah.
But just trusting in the Lord that this is where He wanted us, we went ahead and proceeded with those things. But we did all this because we desired to live a more simple life in the country and become more self-sufficient. To be able to, teach our kids to be more self-sufficient and to grow more of our own food and raise our own meat for the most part. And just really get back to the basics, not having to go to the grocery store as much and rely on the store for our needs. So we did all that. In the process, before we had moved, like she said, the winter was cold. It was brutal last year.
Awful.
It was minus 10 for 3-4 weeks here where we're at, which is cold for Missouri. But we were able to, just kind of in our downtime, sit around and watch a lot of YouTube videos and on homesteading and gardening and just learning how to do these things ourselves. I was raised in the country, had a garden, had animals and stuff, but never really kind of did it as a homestead life to where we were trying to produce more of what we're consuming. So when we were watching YouTube channels, we found a couple that were very, very informational for us and kind of went with those and kind of learned a lot based off of those things, off those channels. One was the Living Traditions Homestead down in Ava, Missouri, and then the Homesteading Family. They're out in Idaho. So two extreme different climates there, but very, very informational and good information for us
Right.
to learn to grow our own things around here. So
Kind of gave us an idea of where we wanted to start, what we wanted, you know, why they were doing what they were doing, and if that was something we wanted to do.
yeah,
And just kind of see what that looks like. You know, when somebody says we raise rabbits for meat, you don't always know what all goes into that. So it gave us an idea of exactly what it is.
what to expect, you know,
what you need.
what it takes to raise
Yes.
rabbits, and the care that you have to be able to keep them, and
Right.
you know, the foods that they can feed, and just the breeding process and having the babies, and when you can, you know, when to butcher them and things like that. When
There's so many
just
steps.
a ton of stuff to learn when you haven't done it before. So
Right.
those other channels were definitely very, very useful for us in different things. So
And that's kind of why we were wanting to start ours, is just to encourage other people too. And so through watching and planning and just dreaming, we decided that we needed to get ready for our garden. And so, still living in town in a rental, waiting until we could move here, we started all of our plants, or most, a lot
hundreds.
that we could.
We had a couple hundred plants, I think it was, somewhere's around there, something like that, 100,
We
150.
looked crazy.
It,
Our house glowed.
shelves and everything in our kitchen, taking up our whole sliding glass door area. So just to go to show you, you can do these things even if you don't have tons of property
Yes.
and acreage and stuff. You know,
Absolutely.
you can grow all your own stuff even if you live in town. We did it. You know, it looked crazy, but we did it.
And then this year, we're going to do it again. We are going to do it larger scale, and it was successful. We enjoyed it, but we learned it through watching other YouTube channels and things like that, and it worked. It produced, and after it was all planted in the garden and had time to grow and everything, we got towards the end of summer and we started canning. We were able to can not as much salsa as I would have liked, because we are salsa
Not as
eating
much
fools.
as we can consume.
Yeah, we consume as much salsa as we do water, probably. So we were able to consume and produce salsa. We were also able to can just regular tomatoes, and then we were blessed to have my brother and sister-in-law share their green bean harvest with us, and so we canned that. And we have wild blackberries.
Yes.
And we
Bunch.
made some kind of, you could probably call it blackberry preserves. It really wasn't a jam.
Blackberry jam that's more of like a syrup.
There's an
almost.
art to that.
But
we did it.
We learned it though.
Yeah.
In the next batch, that, you know, to do things a little bit different, because our first batch was a little bit syrupy, but it makes great ice cream topper.
It does. And then also with that crazy out of character winter that we had a late frost, which sometimes happens. And the guy that we bought this, the family, I say guy because we talked so much to John rather than his wife, because she was usually working. But it was a husband and wife, and they had raised their kids here. So anyways, the family, they had said that the fruit trees that were here do produce well. Well, with that late frost, they produced
We didn't get
nothing.
anything. I had hopes of plum jellies and jams and apple pie filling canned, and we have nectarine tree out there, and not a one of them.
So the Lord wasn't willing this
Lord
past
wasn't
year. But what was beautiful was our neighbor just around the corner shared. They shared their pears with us, and the pear jam that we made was so
Phenomenal.
good. We loved it. So we're looking forward to making that again. But it was nice because we were able to start our garden and our canning, which is such a process. From seed to canning, I mean, there is a span of time, a lot of love and finesse that goes into all of that. But we were able to kind of get our feet wet and not be crazy overwhelmed. We let a lot of produce go bad just because we had a busy lifestyle with 3 boys and still trying to learn stuff.
Trying to homeschool too.
Yeah.
We started homeschooling when we got down here, which we've since gone from that.
1 month.
But it took a lot of time doing the garden and
yes,
the boys and school and work. We have full-time jobs still.
Yep.
So working and things like that, it took up a lot of time. So like the fruit trees, like she said, the Lord wasn't willing. I think the Lord knew that we were going to be overwhelmed with just everything we already had.
It's quite possible. So it is quite possible.
I think he eased that burden on us a little bit. So.
But we also were able to find wild elderberry. Elderberries are wild.
Yeah.
We were able to find
Tons.
elderberries, like more than I could keep
Tons
up
of
with.
elderberries.
And so we made some elderberry syrup, and I still have elderberries in the freezer that I'm going to make some syrup to get rid of and use for our family. But that was fun. That was exciting. I'd never done it before. And then jalapenos. Oh my gosh. Just about as much as we like salsa,
Delicious.
we probably like canned garden fresh jalapenos. And so we let a lot of those go bad because I didn't realize just how ridiculously easy it is to can them. And so at the end there, we canned a bunch. And now I'm like, I need more jalapeno plants and more jars.
And we'll share
We're canning them.
We'll share that easy recipe too, and the canning of the jalapenos because, like I said, she said it was super easy. I think it took 10 minutes to can jalapenos. I mean, it was crazy easy, and they're so good.
Yes.
So, Lord willing, none of those will go to waste this year.
No, that was such a bummer. Yeah, we will share a lot of things. And at this point, I don't think I honestly have anything that I do that is Jessica created. It's just been lovingly shared by other folks. And I will be happy to share what we've tried and what worked for us and tell you where we found it.
Failures.
Yeah, we have those.
We have failures that didn't work out.
We do.
So.
But don't we all? And so when we started planning our homestead, we kind of had a list of things. This is what we want. This is what we want long term. This is what we want right now. Well, within the week that we took possession of this house, prior to taking possession, Glenn found, I don't know, it was on Craigslist or something, found.
Ad on Craigslist for some rabbits.
Yes, this phenomenal woman, literally just down the
2
road
miles
from us.
Away, roughly.
Yeah, her name is Hope, and wealth of knowledge. I will say, if that's one thing as a homesteader, as just a person in general, if you can be wise enough and humble enough to seek out people that know about what you're wanting to do, take everything they can give you, because she gave us so much information. And so we get the truck, get all these animal crates in the back, and we head to Hope's.
Not even our own cages. We didn't have cages.
Yeah,
we borrowed her cages and brought all of our animals home in her cages and had to take her cages back to her because we just weren't prepared for all of that.
I'll have to see if I can post that picture, but it's kind of funny. Like, we didn't have far to go, so it was fine. Obviously, it wouldn't have been safe for the animals if we were going down the highway, but we were just going down gravel roads. So we come home with a flock of barred rock hens with a Rhode Island red rooster because he's pretty. And
a lot of our animals are because they're pretty and cute.
It's just, you got to have a reason. And we came home with our rabbits and our barn cats, and we just started. And that's where we started. Now we have 3 different flocks of chickens. Our boys run a chicken business selling eggs, and we sell hatching eggs, and we hatched out chicks that helped grow our flock and helped grow other people's flocks that wanted to buy chicks.
We sell rabbits, rabbit meat.
Yep.
So tons of rabbits. We went from 4 or 5 rabbits when we came home to 45 rabbits right now. So
yeah, they're a phenomenal thing. I can't wait to do a video on rabbits because we had done some rabbit videos before, and I yanked them. I deleted them because we have learned in however many months we've lived here, like 6, 7, 8, I don't even know now.
Tons about
so
them.
Much about them. And they're so, if you kind of have a few tips and tricks, they're so easy. They produce so well. I've never ate rabbit meat until living here, and I love it. Our kids ask for it. Like, my kids are somewhat picky, and they ask for it. So I can't wait to share that whole like experience with everybody because it's
I would
great.
say, I would say rabbits and chickens, those are probably your two gateway animals if you're going to get started.
It's a good get your feet wet animal.
Easiest ones, I would say, that are going to produce right away. I mean,
right, absolutely.
Immediately. I mean, the rabbits and stuff, they grow out from birth to butcher in 12 weeks. I mean, we butcher them about 12 weeks, so it's phenomenal.
And they produce a litter of kits is easily 6+. I
say we're
easily.
On average, ours are anywhere from 6 to 12.
That's a pretty wide range. But if you can bank on 6, I mean, I'm going to say our family of 5, but we have 4 eaters because our youngest doesn't eat a whole lot. So out of us, we can easily consume 1 rabbit for a meal with multiple sides like we normally would anyways.
A couple sides and stuff, vegetables, and just a couple other sides.
So they'll last a while for
1 rabbit.
1 rabbit and
3 pounds roughly.
Yeah, it's great. And so we started out again with the rabbits and we started out with the chickens and we had guineas for a while as well. And we blessed Adrian with pest control because we lost all 9 of our guineas that we spent $200
what we were told would make them stick around didn't make them stick around. My wife, I still think to this day, just let them out while I was gone on a trip out of town. I think she just let them out because she didn't want them.
They're noisy.
Noisy, sound like a bunch of little raptors, but man, they are some tick control animals.
But you know what? I don't think people give enough credit to chickens.
Our chickens did a pretty good job.
I think they eat some darn ticks.
Yeah, before we bought this place, you couldn't walk across the yard without 4 or 5 ticks crawling up your pant leg or something like that.
You better off to count how many you had.
And once we got the chickens out here and actually moved in, I don't remember really ever getting hardly any.
No, they were few
unless
and far
we went
between.
out in the woods, away from the house, but up around the house where you used to get them, you just didn't get them anymore.
No, it was so much more manageable. And gosh, we were treating our horses for ticks, which we hadn't had to do before. They were just loaded. It was awful. And now we have our beautiful egg-laying chickens. They eat ticks. We do still have 2 guineas because we hatched out some guineas. And our guineas, I honestly think they believe they're chickens. They hang with the chickens.
They do. They've got one rooster's their buddy, so they really hang with him, and they fight everything off of him too. They kind of defend him.
And they teach him bad tricks.
Yeah, he flies
the coop when the rest don't.
Yeah, the others stay in, but that one rooster, he's learned to get out like the guineas do. So
yeah, he
without a top on our pen, and there's 6-foot walls, and I've got stuff up there to kind of deter them from wanting to do it, but the guineas and that one rooster will still get out almost daily. I mean, it just is. So.
It's true. But, there's a lot of information out there about how to keep your guineas around, and the method we used didn't work. But one of the other methods is to raise your guineas with your chickens, and supposedly they'll stick around. I can honestly say we are not free-ranging our chickens at the moment. That's another thing we learned. We'll put that in a video. But we did successfully, and they went with the chickens and came back with the chickens. We only put them up
spring and
because
summer.
We lost leaves.
Spring and summer it works great, but now in the winter all the leaves are off the trees.
Right.
So the chicken hawks were a big problem. I think they killed 4 chickens or so in a week's time.
Quickly.
In a week's time, so we decided in the winter we better just pen our chickens up and leave them in the coop, and they have a run outside the coop,
and they're not dying.
They're not dying. So
where we went all summer from, we'll just say beginning of June, because we'd moved in end of May, all the way through until we lost leaves without losing chickens to a predator. Now we had a dog that we
chickens. Bought as a guardian dog, and she didn't guard very well.
We didn't know how to train her. That's another step way down the road. We're not ready for that. So we found her a home right here in town with family, and she has a friend, and it worked out great because she was not eating our chickens. But that's the only reason we were losing chickens. We weren't losing them to hawks, and so now they're not free ranging. But so that's where we are currently, and we have so many, Lord willing, dreams that we want to grow and do this and grow and do that, and just be able to produce more things that we can sell within our community, because we so enjoy buying from local farmers and homesteaders that we want to be able to offer things to. But just, you know, when our boys grow up and move out of our home, if they could not go to the grocery store, I don't want them to be worried about it, where their meal's going to come from. They should be able to know how to care for themselves, at least to an extent.
Yep. So that's kind of where we are. We just wanted to introduce ourselves to you guys, give you guys a chance to get to know us a little bit. You know, we want to be able to share our adventure and just encourage others to do the same if it's something that you're interested in. You know, it's not that hard. It's a lot of work. It is work, but it's
doable work.
When you really learn how to do those things, it's not hard. It's enjoyable.
Yes, it is.
You know, and we learn so many things doing the garden and taking care of the animals and raising them. We learn so many things that the Lord taught also by doing these things. So for us, it's very encouraging, edifying,
yes.
and we just really enjoy this lifestyle. So if you guys enjoy it, you know, subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out on Facebook, follow us. You know, we're going to be uploading new videos and stuff all the time, so check those out. You know, subscribe if you want to be alerted for those new uploads.
And we're good to follow, because we make good mistakes that we can keep you from making.
And we plan to introduce you to another member who lives here too, and he will be phenomenal. So
that'll be your cliffhanger.
We'll get a good laugh. So.
I hope you enjoy our YouTube channel. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Shut up! I wasn't done. You're awful.
She wanted me to not slurp my coffee, so I had to slurp my coffee.
Cutting you off.